The impossible moment of truth arrived with terrifying speed, heralded by massive plumes of smoke and the concussive roar of the main battery. The first salvo. Cataclysm. The Yamato, recognizing the tiny ship not as a threat but as an inconvenience or an insignificant target to be removed, opened fire with a fraction of its immense capability. The world instantly dissolved into white-hot chaos. While the battleship's colossal shells were designed for piercing heavy armor at long range, even a near miss from the 18.1-inch guns created a devastating hydrostatic shockwave capable of tearing a small vessel apart. The first salvo, a spread of shells designed to bracket and eliminate the tiny target, landed with the force of an earthquake. Geysers of water erupted hundreds of feet into the air, and the tiny ship was immediately buffeted by the shockwave, causing severe structural damage, buckling bulkheads, and snapping mast rigging. Immediate damage was overwhelming. Communications were cut, steam lines ruptured, and secondary fires erupted across the deck. Men were thrown from their feet, injured, or killed outright by shrapnel and internal trauma, transforming the organized deck into a wreckage of smoke and noise. The logical military response at this moment of utter devastation facing certain immediate sinking was to scuttle the vessel, abandon ship, and save the lives of the survivors. Yet, amidst the chaos, a core of defiant, desperate resistance emerged, focusing on the actions of the unthinkable resistance. 4 sailors. These 4 men, perhaps a helmsman, an engineer, a damage control specialist, and a corpsman, refused to accept the inevitable. They became the living heart of the sinking ship, ignoring the order to abandon. They weren't fighting to win, but to deny the giant battleship the satisfaction of an effortless kill. One sailor might have fought a searing fire single-handedly with a frayed hose. Another struggled to bypass damaged hydraulic lines, to maintain steerage and avoid the next salvo. A third might have worked frantically in the engine room, knee-deep in water, to restore propulsion and give the ship a chance to move. Their heroism was desperate, focused, and utterly illogical from a strategic perspective. They were fighting for the spirit of the ship itself. This suicidal refusal to yield immediately resulted in shocking the entire fleet. The Yamato and its escorting destroyers had expected the tiny ship to either sink immediately or surrender within minutes of the first accurate salvo. The fact that the target remained afloat, still moving, and in some accounts still firing its small, futile guns, utterly perplexed the Japanese command structure. They were dealing with a force that defied their understanding of naval warfare. The flagship could not afford to waste several more of its valuable 18.1-inch shells on such an insignificant target, especially when larger tactical objectives were at stake. The Yamato's officers and crew, having witnessed the target endure the shock of the main guns, were reportedly stunned by the sheer, unreasonable defiance. This tiny act of resistance forced the largest warship in the world to pause, reassess, and redirect its attention, buying the tiny ship the precious moments it needed. The unexpected pause created by the 4 sailors' defiance provided the tiny vessel with the single narrow window necessary for, against all odds, the escape. With the Yamato momentarily focused elsewhere, the surviving ship, crippled but still moving, began its desperate, slow retreat. The efforts of the 4 heroic sailors were the difference between sinking immediately and survival. The engineer's success in restoring minimal propulsion, combined with the helmsman's desperate attempts to weave the listing ship out of the immediate danger zone, allowed the tiny vessel to use the cover of smoke or a brief squall to break contact with the superior enemy fleet. The sustained damage control efforts of the others ensured the ship did not capsize or break apart before making it out of the visible range. Their survival was a genuine miracle, a denial of the victory that the Yamato had deemed certain from the moment of encounter. This incredible incident was not just a lucky escape. It instantly became an enduring legend within the Allied Naval Command, proving that individual courage and sheer tenacity could, at least momentarily, disrupt the flawless execution of the world's most powerful naval force. This dramatic encounter, a David-versus-Goliath confrontation that the David somehow survived, crystallized into conclusion, the spirit of the underdog, a powerful narrative that quickly circulated through the Allied Navy. The incident served as a profound morale boost, demonstrating that the technical and physical dominance of the Japanese behemoth could be countered by raw, human defiance. The very notion that the Yamato, the fortress designed to be invulnerable, was frustrated and delayed by 4 sailors on a tiny, sinking target was a strategic victory in itself. The tiny ship's continued existence after facing 18.1-inch guns became a rallying cry, symbolizing the indomitable spirit of the Allied Navy and serving as a permanent reminder that in warfare, individual courage and the refusal to surrender can hold a greater destructive power than all the armor and heavy guns in the world. Following the miraculous denial of victory to the Yamato, the ordeal for the tiny ship and its surviving crew was far from over. This block chronicles the true cost and lasting honor earned in the face of certain doom. The crippled vessel, listing badly and running on sheer willpower and minimal emergency power, had to endure a slow, agonizing transit back to the safety of the Allied lines, constantly battling the structural integrity compromised by the devastating hydrostatic shock waves and internal fires. When the battered ship finally limped into the nearest harbor, the sight was staggering, a wreck held together by defiance, a stark physical testament to the disproportionate violence it had survived. The first priority was the 4 sailors, who were immediately hailed not just as survivors, but as true heroes. Their incredible individual efforts, the helmsman holding the rudder against surging pressure, the engineer restoring power in a flooded compartment, the damage control men fighting an inferno, were meticulously recorded by the ship's captain and other witnesses. Verifying the story required the scrutiny of the highest naval command, which had to reconcile the fact that a tiny vessel had encountered and survived the main battery of the Yamato. The physical evidence of the shell holes, the specific damage patterns, and the testimony of multiple surviving sailors quickly confirmed the impossible encounter. The actions of the 4 sailors did not go unrecognized. They were justly recommended for and awarded the highest commendations for their impossible bravery. Their story used in recruitment drives and training manuals to exemplify the power of individual initiative and tenacity under fire. The tiny ship itself, having fulfilled its destiny as a symbol of resistance, often faced a more tragic fate. Its damage was frequently deemed too extensive to justify the massive repairs needed to return it to frontline duty, and it was either scrapped, salvaged for parts, or relegated to harbor duties. Its brief, violent encounter with the world's most powerful battleship being its ultimate, defining legacy. This final chapter of the saga ensured that the heroism was formally recorded, becoming part of the permanent military record and instilling the profound, enduring lesson that the true measure of a warship is not its size or its caliber, but the unflinching spirit of the men who sail her.